Have you ever lost $50,000 before? Well, this week's episode guest has. And not only did he lose $50,000 in the stock market when he first started trading, he actually recouped every single penny back that he ever lost. That is a comeback story unlike I have ever heard before. And we dive deep into how that affected him psychologically and how he was able to dig himself out of that hole. Not only is he a successful options trader and stock market investor now, but he is also a digital creator and educator in the space. He has grown his platform to over 200,000 followers, and it is still growing to this day, working on many, many projects. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming in one of the wisest people I've ever met, one of the most educated people I've ever met, and a really great friend of mine, Ashton Nolan.
Always happy to sit and talk shop, man. It's one of my favorite things to do is to sit down and talk with other experienced traders and get to know everybody's background, their journey, because it never ceases to amaze me how somebody got from point A to point B in their trading career. And everybody's so wildly different. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. You know, your age, your the phase that you are at currently in life. So if I'm talking to somebody who's been trading for a year versus somebody like a John Carter who's been trading for 30, there's a lot of similarities in the conversation when it comes to trading, but the journeys are so wildly different. And it's always fun to talk about that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you kind of opened it up perfectly to what I wanted to talk about. I think this is true. Your story is that you actually started out as a day trader and you were originally down about $40,000 at first, right? Is that correct? That story is incredible to me because I would love to get into that because I know people in 2020 and 2021, came into the market at such a weird time where they thought they could just buy calls or buy stocks and would always go up. And I know people that just came in at 2022 or even the end of 2021 are sitting on probably significant red levels. And to see and to hear your story on how you climbed out of that hole to be in the position that you are today as a successful trader, a successful educator, and creating content on how to be a successful trader or investor over the long run or short term, I think it would be great to dive into almost like not even just how you did it, but like the mentality and almost like the psychological impact that it took on you. Because I know that had to be so hard when you were first starting out, and what drove you to keep chugging along to get out of that hole and be like, okay, I can't wave the white towel. I have to do this. And how, it's just so fascinating to hear this story unfold.
It's I think a lot of people are going to relate to this for sure, especially after the brutal year of 2022. But I think what a lot of people experienced in 2020, in 2021, and then going into 2022 is a little bit different how I experienced this, because whenever I dug myself into my hole, I dug myself into a hole right out of the gate. Okay. So I didn't get to experience the highs. I didn't get to experience any of the success. All I knew right out of the gate was failure, and a lot of it. Whereas somebody who is feeling they're licking their wounds right now. And what is 2023 going to hold? No idea. Anybody's guess is as good as mine. But with 2022, it was a culture shock, because let's be honest, stock trading became kind of trendy. It was a part, dare I say, part of pop culture. There for a minute.
It's almost viral, right? Like very viral at the time, all over social media. Everybody's like, I got to do this. Everybody's making money.
Whenever you have your local TV networks talking about, GameStop and AMC and the apes, and that is it. Trading making its way into pop culture. So people are starting to lick their wounds now, but it's a different dynamic to what I experienced, because they experience the quote unquote success. They experience, unprecedented profits, with very little effort. So it's different in that regard, but a failure is still failure. It doesn't matter what form that takes, or in what in life in which you fail at. So it doesn't matter if it's trading, Doesn't matter if it's a marriage. It doesn't matter if it's a career or a job. It doesn't matter. Failure is still failure. And I think this is really, really important. And as far as I know, and I talked to a lot of traders, and I've spoken a lot to other traders about trading. And not a lot of people talk about what is the day in and day out life look like, you know? And for me, that was probably the lowest point of my life. And I think it was because hindsight's always 20/20, but I think it was because I had the wildly false expectations. And I think that's one of the reasons as to why I failed, and I failed so quickly, is because I was funding brokerage accounts on credit cards, you know, offshore brokerage accounts that had very little oversight, if any.
Yeah.
And I would put 5,000 on a credit card, say, oh, I can make that back in one trade. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And that's me opening an account with zero experience. And I was taking a course that I paid multiple thousands of dollars for, and I was trading while I was navigating through that course. And I think that's a good thing to do, because you got to have skin in the game.
Of course.
But it's a gradual thing, man. I mean, it's like a mountain. You have to chip away slowly at that mountain. You're not going to run full bore up a mountain. I mean, it's just, and I thought that I was the exception, because I considered myself, hey, I'm a smart guy.
Yeah.
I'm analytically minded. I can do this, because it's all it is a simple box of rules.
Of course.
You stay within those rules, then you come out on the other side as a winner.
Yeah. It humbled you.
Oh my gosh, I was so wrong. And it took me a long time to really, really look in the mirror, because for the longest time I was in denial, and which escalated the whole. And it got to the point where it was affecting my mood, my health, my marriage. My wife was pregnant, and then they continued to when my daughter was born. And it's just like that's all I could think about is just regret. Like, why did I take this trade today? Why didn't I stop out? Why this, why that? And it just consumed me.
Yeah. Where you couldn't focus on anything else but that trade. It's like you're not present, right? You're just consumed into that, this hole, if you will.
And it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because I say this, and whenever I do say it, it sounds like I'm saying it in a braggadocious manner, but it's not really the way I intend it to be. Whenever I say my first 2 years, all I did, Scotty, was just look at charts constantly. I was looking at them while I was working my full-time job at the time. I was looking at them when I was in the bathroom stall at work. I was looking at charts during dinner. I was looking at charts at night.
Yeah.
And the whole rule of 10,000, to where you got to put 10,000 hours into something. That is, in my mind, so incredibly accurate.
Absolutely.
But the double-edged sword part of that is, for those 1 to 2 years first of my trading, like, I don't remember a whole lot.
Yeah. Really? Okay. Like almost like clouded minded almost.
Yeah. My wife will come to me and say, hey, do you remember this when Lana was born? I was like, no, I don't remember that at all.
Outside of trading. So like things that were happening in your personal life too.
Yeah. Like I was there,
of course.
And I experienced it, but I don't remember hardly any of it.
Yeah.
Because I was so consumed in the prison of my mind that was created by my failure in trading.
Yeah. It's crazy you say that, because I feel like sometimes even if I'm just trading or day trading and I'm in a little bit of a slump, I have a pretty good risk management strategy where I try to stop myself out very small all the time. But even if I'm getting stopped out like 3, 4, 5 times in a row, I start to feel my mind fog a little bit. And I'm like, that's all I can think about. It's like, why then? When it realistically would have went my way if I waited about 3 more minutes. You know how options trading is, the scalping situation, the day trading. It can be super rigorous and like mentally straining if you're like in and out. It goes against you right after you stop out. So like even off those small stop outs, I feel that way. So it's pretty incredible to hear somebody else be like, okay, that's a normal thing. You know, it's not a lot of people in the space talk about the mentality aspects of it and how hard it can really be.
Yeah. I think the one thing that's really helped me in my trading career, and it still helps me, is watching. So, they say, find a mentor, but always find somebody who's doing 10x than you are.
Yeah, of
And
course.
there's always, I don't care how successful a person is, there's always going to be a person who's doing way better than you.
Absolutely.
And I like to seek those individuals out
Mhm.
and just see how they carry themselves. I don't care about the strategy that they're trading. I
Yeah.
got my strategy. I'm good. I want to see how they handle themselves,
Yeah.
mentally. What are their mannerisms? What are the words that they are speaking? What are they tweeting out? What are they posting on social media? Those are the kinds of things that I still look for and I still have tremendous value in. And because it's still something I battle with every day. It's just like it's a personal or a personality thing, I guess. Is I'm way too hard on myself. And whenever I see somebody like a mentor of mine, John Carter, or somebody like a Tom Sosnoff, or I can just go on down this list and just say, hey, they had a losing trade today. He's out playing with his kids.
Yeah.
Or he's out exercising, or he's out having a date night with his wife or whatever. And it just brings me back to neutral and just like, it's just a trade, man.
Just a trade, just money.
It's just a trade. It's just money. And this is coming from somebody who's blown up like 7 accounts back in the day. It sucks.
For sure.
It sucks. But trading is just like anything else. If you chip away at it and you look at it from a serious perspective rather than money up and money down, is you go in and you say, okay, how can I analyze this? What are the metrics that I'm looking at? What do I not do well? If you do that slowly, all of a sudden 2 years go by and you are miles ahead than you even thought you could be.
Yeah. So it sounds like that the trading, you were honestly learning a lot of valuable lessons while you were, you say failing, but you were just learning at the time. It's almost like an investment over time. People spend hundreds of thousands of dollars just to invest in an education. It's almost like a similar thing here. And this could be way more lucrative in the long run if you're really educating yourself and taking it seriously. Would you say it's fair to say that instead of looking at it as like a dollar up, dollar down, like you were saying, it's almost better to look at your account as like a business? I know a lot of people live by that. Your whatever money you put into an account, you operate it like a business. And obviously if it goes to zero, your business fails. So if you think about it more than just money and you're operating like a real operation here, that could also ultimately lead to better risk management and ultimately maybe even more success in the future. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think there's two ways to categorize the whole business view of trading. Number one is you look at it like, okay, revenue versus expenses, or and that gives you your net income. You could look at it like that. You could also look at it as just from raw statistics, saying, okay, if I do X, Y, Z, and I do it the same way every single time, if I look at it from a probabilistic standpoint, over a long period of time, statistically speaking, I'm going to do well. I'm going to, I don't want to say do well, but I'm going to be in the green, not in the red. But the problem is that, in the realm of statistics, I remember taking a few statistics class back in college, and whenever to get an accurate reading, you have to have something constant, right? But the problem, and with trading, is if you're trading the same setups, the same strategy over and over and over and over again, you now have a firm baseline. You have a better idea as to what's working and what's not. But the problem is with a lot of people is they'll do this strategy for a few weeks and they'll completely change and do something else. Then all of a sudden 6 months go by, a year go by. You have no idea what you're good at and what you're bad at.
Yeah. Consistency is key there.
Yeah. So, that's always a struggle for sure. Cause it's like that, style, people call it style drift. I struggle with it too. It's something that I have to force myself, but that's what separates guys like me and you. Versus people who can't cut it for 6 months or a year is that we have the discipline to, once we start to feel ourselves veer out of our lane, we get right back in it.
I think it's tough. I think that's tough sometimes too, especially in the market, because it's such a fast changing thing. It's changing every day. So sometimes it's like different setups. It's bearish, it's bullish. There's a lot of volatility factors in there. And I feel like you kind of have to take into a couple different factors in order to be consistent, because sometimes your consistency breaks down on you. So that's where like a couple stop losses can start to be like, oh shit, I need to switch up my strategy, or I need to do this. But realistically, it's just the way of the market. So maybe you don't need to switch your strategy, you just need to tweak it a little bit. And I feel like people get scared if it's not working anymore, because one time it did, and now all of a sudden it's failing every time I try it. Maybe it just needs a little tweak because market conditions change every single day. But I think that's a great point.
Yeah. And there's a difference between completely scrapping a strategy wholesale versus tweaking it and evolving it.
Absolutely.
So 2022 was a perfect templated example for all of this, because 2021, buy calls, market goes up, you make money. I mean, that was the nature of it in 2020 as well.
Yeah.
2022 was not the case.
Bloodbath.
we were in a pretty much an inflated VIX environment. We still are, arguably.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not conducive to be buying calls and be buying puts all the time. Yeah, you can get a nice run here and there, but it's just not going to, the odds are against you for that to be consistent.
Yeah.
So, in order to recognize that and say, okay, well, I'm still within the realm of my strategy, but how do I keep my strategy intact and start selling for premium? Or, how do I keep my strategy intact and start going for more neutral based trades, or iron condors or butterflies or whatever the case is. And from my experience, from my personal experience and what I've taught and seen with other new traders, is you don't recognize that without experience. I mean, you have to stay in the game long enough to recognize that, because October was rolling around in 2022, the year was almost over, and there were still traders who were relatively new, who were still just beating their head against the wall saying, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I bought calls, the stock went up, and I still lost money. I'm just like,
there's more to it.
There's a lot more to it. I mean,
of course.
What was the VIX at whenever you bought it? Oh, this. Okay, what is it at now? Oh, well, it dropped. Well,
that makes sense. It's crazy, because I think that a lot of people think of the stock market. It's like, oh, I'll buy stock and I'll invest in it long term. The Warren Buffett rule, just keep compounding over time. But people that just came in at the end of 2021 and have been in there, all they've seen is blood. So it's a little bit probably discouraging to continue to stay there. And then not only are they losing money buying stocks, it's then people are like, how are you making money? Oh, you have to introduce to me options, iron condors, butterfly spreads. It's like, what does all that mean? Like, I feel like that's probably a lot to somebody that's just like, this makes no sense to me. And, math is probably one of the harder subjects for most people to learn as they're in grade school, high school, college, whatever it is. So that might be almost like a turnoff. And there's not as much math involved as people would think, at least not in my personal opinion. But it sounds like when you're dealing with numbers and there's so many different strategy names, could be kind of discouraging for somebody to be like, oh, I don't have time to learn all that, or I'm not smart enough to learn all that. But it really is with the free value that even, anybody, the free value all over YouTube, Instagram, your account, the next guy's account, so many different options traders out there have so much free value on these social media platforms that people could really take advantage of. But that might be the reason that a lot of people are discouraged to be in the market to learn these other things, like option strategies, other derivative styles of trading, because it sounds like a lot more than it is.
Sure. Yeah. And I always recommend, listen, if you want to get to where I am or whoever your favorite trader, it doesn't matter. If you want to get to that point, you gotta walk before you can run, man.
Absolutely.
And, I recommend hey, start with shares. Start with shares. And even if you don't necessarily build up a profitable consistency, the idea is to get in the ring.
Yeah.
In the ring and throw some bouts, mainly with your emotions, to get your emotions in check and get them under control.
Kind of discover who you are as a person, as a trader, who you are mentally, what you can and can't handle, kind of things like that.
Right. And ideally, you want to be profitable and consistent as
of course.
trading with trading with shares.
Mhm.
The biggest factor is just, get in there, get your lumps, and get your emotions under control. Because if you can't get that under control, you have no business graduating up to options.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long journey.
Oh, it's shares amplified.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that mentality kind of sticks with like anything, not even just trading. It could be kind of got to get your feet wet and start small with anything. If you're going to start a business, you kind of got to discover who you are. You kind of have to just try it. It's anything, right? You want to learn how to ride a bike. You got to try it first. You want to, start a business like a hair salon. You got to start. You got to learn a little bit. So same thing with the stock market. You got to get involved, learn first, and learn as you go. Because you're never going to jump into it and know everything right before you start trading your own money. You kind of have to lose money to know the game. Like you have to make money, lose money. You got to figure it out so you know which way to do it. I've lost money every single possible way there is. And that is the reason that I have success in trading, is because I know where to place money, because I've lost money so many different times during strategies. I know what to look out for. So the losing money aspect is hard to swallow, but it's probably the best educator out there.
Yo, for sure. People say, hey, what was the one thing that helped turn you around and dig you out of your hole?
That was my next question.
It wasn't really one thing in particular.
Yeah.
But if I had to put it on one thing, is I didn't concentrate at all. I remember dedicating, I put it like on my desk or whatever. Do not focus on winning.
Mhm.
Focus on losing. And what I meant by that was I had no problem winning and trade.
Mhm.
That was easy.
Yeah.
My problem was I didn't know how to lose.
Mhm.
I was terrible at it. I would win. I'd take a trade and I'd make $1,000.
Mhm.
I'd take another trade and I'd make another $1,000. But then I'd take another trade and I would lose all of it. And it was just the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I made a dedication to myself to say, oh, hey, you need to focus on how to lose properly.
Mhm.
That's where you suck. Okay.
That was the turning point.
Yeah. So tweak it, figure it out. And at that point, I remember I was tracking my trades in just like an Excel spreadsheet.
Mhm.
And I was tracking like 20 different metrics. I was getting as granular as I possibly could. I ended up putting it in pivot tables, and I think I still have it somewhere. But I was tracking, okay, what time of the day was I trading? What price point was I trading?
Mhm.
How many shares did I attribute? What was my overall, my total capital that I was tracking so many different things.
Mhm.
And then slowly those weaknesses and strengths started to really become clear.
Mhm.
And I was, for example, it's like, shit, I should not ever trade the last hour of the day ever.
Yeah.
So then I would cut that out, and then I'm
Mhm.
left with these things. And slowly but surely, it got better and better and better and better. And then all of a sudden, I was profitable consistently, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I was still focused on learning how to lose. I wasn't even focused on the winners. And to me, it just got such a mundane task to where a trade was just a thing.
Mhm.
It wasn't money. It was just a thing that I did. Like, you waking up in the morning and fixing yourself a cup of coffee is just something you do.
It's a skill. Yeah. It's a skill you acquire over time.
Yeah.
So would you say that that's kind of like the turning point there, is focusing on the loss more than the win? That was where you were like, okay, let me put the nail in the coffin on this hole that I've dug myself, and let me start climbing my way out of it. And then from there, would you say that that was more so on the stock side? Did you start to introduce, we talked about getting started on the stock side, just start learning how to trade stocks. Is that where you started to jump into options, or was this still trading just common stock to get yourself out of this hole? What was the process there?
I didn't even touch options until a few years after that.
Okay.
Oh
wow. So 50,000 off of shares. That's crazy.
And, well, I'll trade penny stocks.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah,
so high risk. Okay.
Right. And so it's like, by the way, if people start trading with shares and you're trading with penny stocks, that's like the hardest way to trade shares.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
lot of people would disagree with that. I mean, because they do move a lot because they have such small floats,
Mhm.
but they can also dump, 40% in 10
In
minutes.
seconds. Yeah, it's crazy how fast they move. It's almost like
Yeah.
an option contract, really, like same day expirations. Like penny stocks can kill you if you don't really understand
much.
the movements. But even options are like a little bit easier to track because penny stocks, like you say, low float, like there's nothing there, right? If you're trading shares of the SPY or Apple, at least you have some direction to it because you can kind of look at the market because there's so much volume in it. But penny stocks,
Yeah.
that's risky.
And that's one of the benefits of trading options too, is because you had the benefit of looking, okay, what delta am I selecting?
Mhm.
That gives you a probability of in the money or out of the money. Okay, what's the theta burn on those contracts right now? What's the
Mhm.
expected move?
Yep.
I go on and on and on. So you have more information at your disposal whenever you're trading options. With shares,
Yeah.
especially penny stocks, the only thing you have at your disposal is the float,
Mhm.
share price, and whether or not there was a news event that day.
Yeah.
That's really about it.
Yeah. So that's an incredible story. I'm still fascinated by being able to have that almost like that grit to make sure that you get out of this and you never backing down, basically get knocked down 9 times, stand up 10. What is some advice that you would give to somebody that's struggling as a trader that's not doing so well? Maybe in a hole like that. What is one piece of advice that you would say to them?
I would say this. This sounds so corny, but I would say face your demons. And what I mean by that is the one thing that really, really got me through all this was I did not hold anything from my wife. I didn't hide anything from her. If she knew, she was written all over my face if I had a really bad day in trading, we would talk about it, and it just helped me get out that inner monologue in my head to get it out. Because what we create in our head is nowhere near what is actually the reality, right? So my advice is find a mentor, find a buddy of yours, your spouse, your girlfriend, whatever it is. Get out of your own head and do a voice recording on your phone and do like a voice diary to yourself, or write it down in a notebook, whatever it is to you. Do that. Get out of your own head. That's probably the biggest point of advice.
For sure. Yeah, that could probably, like I said, I feel like a lot of people don't focus on the mentality aspect of it because that's really could be even, more than 50%, if not 99% of trading, know. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on. You're an options trader. Tell us about your digital branding because you have grown a pretty crazy platform for yourself. So it's crazy to see it $50,000 down to multiple thousands of followers on social media, also educating, becoming a mentor. You say that some advice to get out of that is find a mentor to really find that direction. How did you kind of get started in the mentor space, building up a brand the way you have?
Man, this was during the pandemic, man. And I was like, I saw somebody, I think it was my buddy Gerald Peters.
Yeah.
I was
Shout
on
out
Instagram.
Gerald Peters.
I was on Instagram one day and he was talking about trading. I'm just like, damn, this guy trades very, very similar to me. So I just reached out to him and we just and it was all history from there.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? He's talking about trading. I'll talk about trading too. I've been at that point, I've been trading for 5 or 6 years. And that's what I did. I just started talking about trading, how I traded, my story and things I've been through. And it just clicked. It just resonated. And it helped a lot of people, which I'm very, very happy about. But also it helped me too. Because I would talk about trades that I took that particular week. And it was my form of diary.
Your journal. Yeah. You can kind of like reflect on what you're doing. And if you're educating, you're also educating yourself. You kind of learn as you're going and you're kind of inspired to learn more than you would if you were just doing it by yourself as well. So it's pretty
100%.
incredible to see that.
Yeah. And then it got to the point where I was like, hey, this social media thing is actually it's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. And I enjoy helping people at the same time. And then it just got to the point, okay, well, how can I make my content better?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm over that kind of wore off.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm just like, hey, I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
I'm just a dude who likes to talk about trading. And if I happen to get 10, 50 people, in Instagram's case, 36,000 people who are interested in it too.
Yeah.
Hey, the more the merrier.
Hell yeah, bring them all on.
Let's have a beer.
Yeah.
But
creates a network too. You're just meeting so many great people online. It's like, I mean, that's how we got connected through social media. So now it's like there's so many great conversations we've had in the past, and I'm sure we'll continue to have these great conversations. But the network it opens up, just hitting that record button. It's crazy the doors it can open up for you.
Yeah, I mean, actually, a huge project that I'm working on now is, and it never would have happened if it wasn't for social media and the networking and just putting yourself out into the ether, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we're working on a platform that it's unlike anything I've ever seen. And you've had people contact you, hey, check out this, check out our this, whatever. I've had a lot of people come to me, but a team came to me and they said, hey, we're working on something and we want you to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to help us build this thing.
Yeah.
And they showed it to me. I'm just like, this is badass.
Yeah.
And, it's essentially pulling back the veil of the stock market and knowing exactly it's all the indicators in the stock market. They're all lagging indicators, right?
Mm-hmm.
Telling about the past. But what we're building is, hey, we can actually see where the levels are in the future. And people say, well, is it option order flow? That's part of it, very small part of it, but there's so much more to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just getting antsy to really, really start talking about it. And it's going to help out. It's going to help a lot of people for sure.
And that's coming soon.
It's coming soon.
Hopefully
within the next week or two.
Yeah. Oh man, that's real soon.
Yeah, it's already up and running, and we just gotta, make the announcement and make it final. But it's good stuff, man. Because trading is it's a losing endeavor if you're not equipped with the right things to teach yourself on how to actually trade and what to look for and what not to look for.
Absolutely.
And I think with that platform aside, I feel like it's great for guys like you and me and a handful of others for sure that are still here.
Absolutely.
Through a brutal 2022 and 2020 and all that stuff, we're still here.
Yeah.
We're still helping people.
We're still here. It's crazy you say that because I feel like in 2020 and 2021, everybody was a financial guy, trying to educate you. It's like 2022, it's like crickets. 2023, where the hell is everyone? There's only a select few of us still here. So it's pretty crazy to think about. So I know you got a hard stop. I want to be respectful of your time. You were $50,000 in debt, really took it to yourself and be like, this is it. I'm going to turn a new leaf. And you did. And you also, while you were building out of that $50,000 in debt, you became a profitable trader, became way smarter on all aspects of the stock market between stocks, options, and all while doing this, you're building out a digital media platform where you can educate other people to do what you did or maybe not what you did so they can learn better and have a more successful start or career in the future. So you have some really great stuff out there. I love your story, man. Like I said, I love talking to you. Every time I get a chance to talk to you, I love listening in because you're so wise. You have so much to say, but I would love to know, you just gave us a little bit of insight what you're working on right now, but is there anything else that you are working on the side, in options trading, on your media, your platforms? Tell us your next move to continue the success that you've been having over the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. The main focus for me is getting that platform because it's a lot, man, and it's a big, massive project. We're shooting for the stars here, and it's going to be unlike anything anybody has ever seen. And it's going to be a learning curve for sure, but anything worth having always has a learning curve.
Yeah.
And then also I don't like pushing it out that much, but I'm doing the one-on-ones and mentorship.
Yeah.
Because like what Gerald Peter says, and I love that he says this, is I'm only looking for people who are looking for me.
Yeah.
And with 2020 and 2021, there were a lot of people who were just kind of on the fence and window shopping about trading and just like, no, I am setting the bar high on purpose because I want people who are, who are serious about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like I would be doing a disservice to anybody if I didn't set that expectation up front and say, hey, trading is easy. Come join me and pay for this and pay for that. And no, that's not anywhere near the realm of reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it sounds like you got so much to work on. I'm so excited to see what you have to unfold with this new platform. I know you can't talk too much on it, but it sounds like it's coming right around the corner. I'm super excited to see what you've been working on. I know you have always had so many things working on behind closed doors. So I'm excited. I'm sure everyone else is excited. And the one-on-one mentors, there couldn't be a better guy to learn from than Ashton Nolan right here. I really appreciate your time. Like I said, I know you have a hard stop, but thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I'm super excited to be connected with you, and I'm sure a lot of other people will be as well.
I appreciate it, man. God bless you, brother.